Awesome. I love it.
So, see if anybody finds us. Comments. And if people ask questions in the public comments, I can put those on the screen.
Perfect. That'd be awesome.
They're unveiling a new feature.
Okay.
They're calling it Teams. So if we
like in Microsoft Teams?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
If I were to do this and bring you in as a team member, you would be able to do the banners and the.
Oh, nice.
And you could initiate chats and highlight chats and.
Oh, cool.
Or you could either be on the screen, or you can have somebody in here that's in your team that can be a producer and don't have to. They don't have to be on the screen.
Cool. Does this also go out to YouTube?
This is going YouTube. Again, QRAZ Radio, and it's going to, let's see, view on YouTube, continue with YouTube, and a timer's showing there. Let me give you that link also.
Okay.
Let's see, where am I? I got too damn many. Hey, Raya. Let's see, chat, private chat. Oh, we're on. And there, I sent in private chat to YouTube. I sent you the YouTube link in private chat.
Great.
And Rhea Conley's here. She assaulted me at the grocery store.
She's a good woman.
Yeah. So here we are. We actually have a topic tonight and a guest. We got noise coming from somewhere, maybe from me. Okay, there we go. I'm getting sound from somewhere, but I don't know where it is.
I have no idea.
I just don't know. Don't care. You must have a radio or TV in the background somewhere.
I don't. Bill might though. So we've got music coming through the live radio chat. Well, no, it's coming through from here.
I know.
Okay. I'm getting something in delay here.
You know, I am too.
Go into your mic settings. I've got echo cancellation on.
Okay. Any more feedback? Is it clear now?
I think so.
Okay, I figured out what it was.
Have a speaker running. Yep, there it is.
I don't know where that's coming from.
I don't either. I've got.
Okay, figured out what it was.
What I've got here is this set up to run all through my mixer board, so there's no sound. But it's like speakers are on someplace.
I hear a little bit of it too.
I don't know what it is. I think Gray is the only one that's going to talk to us tonight.
We'll find out.
Got to figure that out. That's going to make me nuts, but we'll work with it tonight. I don't know where it's coming from. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I've adjusted my volume down and my sensitivity down. And my headphones down. But I'm still getting it from somewhere. I don't know where. Rhea says she can hear it too. Uh-oh, where'd you go? Did I lose you? There you are.
Nope, we're okay.
Lost you for a minute there. Did you have an itch you had to scratch?
Nothing like that. Well, we're ready to get started.
Yes.
All right.
Tell them what you're going to talk about.
What am I going to talk about? Well, I thought
workplace incivility.
Yes, so workplace incivility. Appreciate the opportunity to come on air, Dale, and talk about this with QRAZ. And I love supporting local. So you're right down the street from me, but it's nice to have our own Arizona City neighborhood radio station. So anxious to see how it evolves. So today's topic is going to be a topic that is something I'm passionate about. And that has to do with civility in the workplace, or rather incivility in the workplace.
We should take a moment to notice that Carol showed up on time.
I agree, Carol. Glad to see you.
And I found the sound and I killed it.
Okay, excellent.
So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
That's all right. That's all right. So tonight's topic is crisis of incivility in the workplace. Like I said, it's something I'm very passionate about, and I've been following for quite some time. It started out with me taking a look at some articles and a book linked into the Harvard Business Review, and I started to dive a little bit deeper into the topic because in past lives I have seen quite a bit of behavior in the workplace that's really counterproductive and causes a lot of drama, and drama can get in the way of a very productive workforce. So, tell me a little bit where you want to go with this. What would you like to learn?
I'm going to say that it's not new, but it's getting worse.
Absolutely.
It's been around as long as I've been working.
Mm-hmm.
And every workplace had some kind of bully.
Mm-hmm.
Some self-important ass.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's not a new thing, but it's definitely getting more prevalent. And the thing is,
Agreed.
we want to know, why does that matter? I mean, it's just a job, right?
Well, yeah, it's just a job, but you bring up a good question and a good point. So when we talk about workplace incivility or civility in the workplace, civility is actually what I would call like a subset of workplace respect, or respect in the workplace. And the way that you become civilized or have civility in the workplace is through building relationships. So think about some of the most respectful relationships that you have in your life. Maybe it's on the outside of work. Well, how do you treat those relationships? Well, you want to treat those relationships the same way, or not the exact same way, but in a similar way at work that you do to those you care about. And civility is more than being nice or just having manners. One of the things that I have anecdotally observed is that we have lost the ability to agree to disagree. So you ask a very good question, Dale, and that is, why does all of this matter? And one of the key things, I'm going to go right to the pocketbook on this one. Incivility in the workplace cost corporations millions, if not billions of dollars annually. I've seen reports upwards as of $300 billion can be linked back to incivility in the workplace. I don't know about you, but that is a lot of money. And you even stated that you have seen it getting worse over the years. It actually is at epidemic levels, not to bring up epidemics.
Yeah.
But it really is at an epidemic level. So civility affects physical health, mental health, any type of health that you can really think of. It affects the whole person. So let me give an example of what this looks like, and I think this will really hit home for our listeners. So I'm not going to get into politics because we have a no politics rule here, but I'm just going to state in general, large scale terms. Think about the last election and people that you know. When you're in the workplace, you cannot discriminate against somebody based upon political affiliation, based upon gender, based upon religion. There's all these rules that we have.
You have to work with them. It's not like a Facebook where you can just dump them from your account.
That is absolutely true. So we have to learn in the workplace how to properly manage views and perspectives and opinions. And to take it a step further, you can't retaliate. So getting even with that person whose opinion you don't like, you can't just do what you did on Facebook. Well, and let's talk about that for a moment, because one of the ways that it can come out is through it is through what I call like microaggressions, or these small little pieces of behavior that you don't even realize that you are engaging in. It could be things like leaving somebody off of an invite for a meeting, or it could be you unconsciously / consciously no longer make eye contact with that person. So we'll talk a little bit here about what incivility is going to look like. But to start with, there's kind of a good, I'm going to back up for a moment because I use the example of politics in the workplace. I have a general rule, and there's a reason I have that rule, and I'm going to tie it into a question that just came up. I have a background in human resources, more specifically in learning and development, in organizational development.
Just tie that into Rhea's question.
Yes. So, Rhea, you asked a question. What does that mean? So my first master's degree is a Master's of Science in Management and Organizational Behavior. Specifically, I studied human resources and organizational development. I graduated from Benedictine University in Lisle, Illinois. So, and then the other initial MA is a Master of Arts, that's adult education. So I work in adult education, instructional design, learning and development for a living. So kind of tying it back, I'm going to take a little bit of a learning perspective here, but something that's really important. And for those of you who have ever taught school, you may know that when you work with children and adults, you have to have rules and you have to have some guidelines. One of the guidelines that I have to adhere by in the workplace is there are certain topics you don't touch. All right. One of them is politics and the other one is religion. You just don't go there. And the reason that I don't, is because the line of work that I'm in, my political views should never be exhibited in a corporate work environment. It's none of anybody's business.
I've got two groups, this page, another page. There's two things that are not allowed. Politics and religion.
Yes.
Too many hot buttons.
That's right. So one way to keep civility is to have that boundary, Dale, in the workplace of you're not going to bring those things up. So to me, voting, religion, those are private choices. And so I know that we're in a workspace nowadays where some companies are very vocal and outward, including their leadership. It's not up to me to tell them, that's right or wrong. But I know for me, at least in my workspace, because of the line of work I'm in, if I was talking about those things, it could very easily be misconstrued in the workplace. Now, out of the workplace, do what you want. That's up to you. But again, I think you can put the rules around and the guidelines around civility into your personal life as well. So here's what's happening. I know I started off with the bottom line and talked about, an example, which was 2020 elections. The costs, and I mentioned $300 billion. It's a lot of money. What happens is people become less productive at work. All right. They start engaging in all the sideways behaviors. And what happens is some people who, are focused on the work, who are, exhibiting civil behaviors, can be impacted by the incivility in the workplace. And people start to call in. They call in sick. They call in days off. Or when they're there, they're not mentally or fully there. You can even take it in so far, Dale, as to the fact that mental health care costs are on a sharp rise. Now, we see that happening for a lot of reasons right now. But prior to the pandemic, we were still seeing higher and higher and higher costs, especially in companies in the culture where civility isn't being managed. There's an exponential increase in costs going back to the employer and going back to the public. So think about things like, let's say you're buying a product from one of those companies. You may have errors. You might have poor customer service. You may not be able to reach people, overwork, understaffed, underpaid. And all of the stress that comes with incivility leads to just these huge, huge costs.
The workplace has two things that you're going to run into. And one of them's good. You're going to have some of your best friends are going to be work friends. But you've got to remember those are work friends.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also...
Absolutely.
And I've run into it, and it's happened to me. A lot of times, if you work in a mixed environment, you'll have a work wife, work husband,
yes,
somebody that you talk to, turn to, discuss things, and you'll say things to them that you won't even say to your real wife or your real husband. But and those are assets. But you're also going to have your worst enemies that you've ever had in your life.
That's correct.
And
that's
people
correct.
that backstab you and take credit for your work. And
absolutely.
And don't mind me if I seem a little distracted. I'm talking to Brian at Tumblebeans.
Oh, okay, great.
And I'm going by there tomorrow with the camera.
Wonderful.
And take a little tour.
Perfect.
Setting it up now. It's one of those that normally I would have ignored chat requests, but I wanted to get this one.
No, understood.
And I want to see the place.
No, that's great. We got to support local. So this is a big topic, and there's a lot of reading. There's a lot of writing out there. There are actually whole conventions that just deal with incivility in the workplace because it has become a growing issue. Now, I want to bring up something that's kind of unrelated but related to this. And this is actually a study that ASU has done over the years, so Arizona State University. Did you know that there is something called a customer rage report?
I can believe that.
Okay. Well, if you go online and you look up the customer rage report, you'll see a couple of iterations of it. But the customer rage report basically is a report of how customers are getting angrier and angrier and more frustrated by corporations and companies. And you're going to find some of the common ones out there: your cable, your internet, your water company, your banks, things like that, where people have become extremely upset and they will take it to a level like no other. And, you mentioned earlier Facebook. Well, that's one way that you can, go and take out your frustrations on others. Just put things up and say what you want, and either you stay and you keep fighting, or you block and delete or unfollow, whatever your choice is. But with the advent of social media, people are, taking it to the screen, and they have no shame of sharing. And it's very interesting because some of the people that you may work with in a face-to-face environment, they may be a little bit quieter and more reserved. But you put a keyboard in front of some people, and they become what I call the keyboard, cowboy or cowgirl or cow person, however you'd like to look at it. They become a totally different person because then they get to sit back and think, and they're able to let out their tensions on a keyboard without sitting in front of the person they're targeting. You've got that barrier there, the barrier of perceived safety.
Seen it happen.
Yes, and it does happen. It happens actually, quite a bit.
I actually lost a really good friend through Facebook stupidity. So
it happens. It happens, and it's happening to families. It happens with people in the workplace. I mean, it's if you think about what's going on even outside of work, some of the ways that you handle people, think about the relationships again that you embrace, that you care about. How do you treat those people? And I'm not saying that you have to love everybody you work with like your family, but there are some elements of how you treat the people, you love that I think really transcend the boundaries of going into the workplace.
Yes.
So,
again, don't mind me. I'm trying to figure out the stuff
fine.
going on here.
That's okay. So,
I need to limit my other crap that's going on while I'm doing this.
Now, so it's interesting you bring that up, because did you know that multitasking is not a true skill set?
I know, and I used to be much better at it than I am now, but it's still not truly multitasking.
Right, it's not.
You have to focus on each thing individually.
That's correct.
And I used to be able to do that very well. I would actually work up to 6 computers at one time.
Oh my goodness.
I'd have them set up on a bench in a row, and I would go through and change the background wallpaper on all of them so they were different.
Mm-hmm.
And I was great until somebody come in and talked to me. And then it was like, okay, which one was I in front of, and what in the hell was I doing?
Absolutely.
But you have to maintain a focus. And if
I
had six computers going at once, don't break my focus.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, maybe taking it into some examples of what happens in the workplace. Let's say you're a manager and you're sitting down with one of your employees and you're talking over, it could be giving feedback. It could be a work assignment. You have an appointment with an employee. All of a sudden the phone rings, or the email comes through, or the cell phone goes off, or you see somebody hovering at the doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
You have a choice in that moment to say either, I apologize. May I take a break for a moment? I want to give you my full attention. Or ignore your employee and just go on to the person at the door, on the phone, etc. And that is such a slight thing, but that causes the perception or feeling of incivility.
Yes, and it's totally distracting. And
very.
And I've dealt with a workplace where they would send you an email while you were on the phone with a client or with a regular customer or maybe a supplier, and they want to know, why didn't you answer my email?
Yes. We are in the world of instantaneous, I expect you to be connected at all times. And it goes back to, again, setting a boundary.
And they would send you chat messages.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't quit when you went home.
No.
And I learned to turn a phone off.
That's a boundary.
How come
That's
you didn't answer
boundary.
my message? I said, are you going to pay me overtime?
Yeah.
No. Well, I'll answer it when my day starts.
Right. I'm unavailable, and I will be available again at such and such time. So it looks like you put up a dial-in number. I don't know if anybody's got any questions. I think we were going to talk a little bit more about incivility.
Yes, I just popped that up there,
Perfect.
but
If we've got anybody calling in, it's 520-373-0783. That's 520-373-0783. Call into QRAZ. Topic tonight is workplace incivility.
and I think we're at the point now where we talk about how to combat it.
You know, we are getting to that point. So workplace incivility really can look like different things. It can be something really small. So I'm going to give you an example. How many times have you been in an office environment, or let's just take nowadays where a lot of people are working from home? Somebody calls you or they pass you in the hallway. They say, "Hey, how you doing?" And they keep going. Do you think they really care about how you're doing?
No, they don't.
Okay. But we do it all the time, don't we? Hey, how you doing?
Courtesy thing.
Right. It's an empty courtesy, though. It's very empty. So in countries like, I'll give you an example, Switzerland. This is how the Swiss perceive those of us in the U.S. If you pass a Swiss business person in the hallway and you say, "Hey, how are you doing?" and you keep going, that's considered very rude. The expectation is, "Dale, hi, how are you doing?" I stop and I pause.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually have a dialogue.
Don't do that with a Japanese businessman.
Different cultures are different.
It's a terrible insult.
Yes. And so it's getting to know that culture. But think about the business that you're in. What does that culture look like? And if you're a leader in that culture, is your culture exhibiting the right behaviors or not? So incivility takes many different forms. Like I said, it could be something small, like that example, just passing somebody in the hallway saying, "Hey, how you doing?" You just keep on going, trucking on down to the coffee and your next meeting, whatever it is. But incivility can start from there. I mean, think about things like you go to get that cup of coffee. Coffee pot's empty in the employee cafe.
Yeah, there's always that one person in the shop or office that's going to empty that pot and walk away.
Okay, that's considered incivility. All right. Trying to ruin somebody's job or reputation at work. Consistently showing up late to meetings or appointments. Rude emails. Now, there's a big one in our electronic world.
Yes.
Trying to fight with people over email. It's not good. It's a permanent record.
Email and text are bad.
Yes.
Communication tools, because you can't convey. They can't see your eyes.
No,
they can't see they can't see a smile.
No, you're right. You're right.
And you want to piss somebody off, try and correct them over chat or email. Send them a text and tell them you screwed up.
Right. And
if
that
you can look
really
them in the eye
people.
and tell them that, and they can see what's going on.
Absolutely.
We've got let's see.
So
right now we've got 7 live viewers. We've had up to 17.
Okay.
So
you brought up a good topic, how to combat incivility. And that's a good one. I think you you gave a good example up front. You set a precedent early. Just don't put up with it. Yeah. All right. Ignoring is condoning. So if there's conflict and you ignore it, you're condoning it. You're giving it permission to persevere.
It's just like everything else. If you've got a problem with somebody or something, talk to them.
Yes.
Don't send them a text. Don't send them an email. Or send them an email and say, "Hey, I'd like to meet you for coffee. Let's sit down and have a conversation." The lost art.
Yes.
We don't talk to people anymore.
We don't.
By the way, we're being watched from Thailand right now.
Wonderful. Well, hello to the universe in that case. Then that's wonderful.
We're going to get George on here to do one of these sessions with us.
That'd be great. That'd be great. So I'd love to have Tylen jump on with us, and I'd be interested in what some of the customs in business in Thailand look like nowadays, especially when it comes to topics like civility, because that's a whole other piece. There are some additional things that people can do to maintain a civilized workforce. I always tell people, hire for attitude, because skills can be taught. I mean, obviously somebody has to have some core competencies and skills. But if you hire somebody for their attitude, or for their attitude, if it's a good attitude, that's going to take you a long way. Because you can have somebody with all the skills, but with a bad attitude, do you think there's going to be willingness to accept feedback? No.
Bad attitude's going to cost you in so many ways.
It's going to cost you a lot of money.
It's going to cost you clients. It's going to cost you workplace morale.
Employee turnover. Yeah.
It's just, the guy may be a genius, but he's not worth it.
That's correct. So, and then we get into the point of we end up trying to make excuses for the person, or the person makes excuses or gets into what I call, the blame gaming, where you're doing this. Blame gaming solves nothing, absolutely nothing. You're not taking action. You're not getting things done. So, the one thing I would encourage people to do, instead of blaming, I want you to sit back and think about, instead of pointing the fingers at somebody, if you've got the time to point out what's going wrong, you've also got the time to come up with a solution. Propose a solution. Just don't bring problems forward. All right. Model the behavior of what you want to be. All right. Be professional. As leaders, companies have a responsibility to model the behavior they want to see in the workplace. And model, it's not just the golden rule. I saw somewhere in writing, and this is not my term, so I'm not going to claim it, but make it the titanium rule, which I think is a really, really great rule. But be what you want the workplace to look like. And just because somebody else is misbehaving doesn't mean that it gives you a right to misbehave. All right. Be the bigger person, possess the emotional intelligence.
Yeah. The problem with that is when a manager lets somebody do that and repeatedly do it.
Correct.
Then they're given permission to everybody else
that is
behave
correct.
The same way.
That is correct. It sends a message.
A good manager will step on that right away.
That is correct. That's what leaders do. And also peers. As a peer, if you do see behavior, there are a couple of ways you can handle it. One way is, yes, you could go to the manager. It depends on the environment you're in. But another way is to have a genuine conversation. And when you go to that person, you have to be very, very genuine in your intent. You're not there to drag the person down. You are there to help them. And so you start by trying to open the door to that conversation. So as an example, saying, hey, you know what, Dale, I really want to talk to you about something. I noticed today when we were in the meeting that XYZ happened, and it seemed to have an impact. Do you have a moment so we could talk about this? Because I really would like to understand and help you through whatever's happening. All you got to do is open that door to that conversation. Now, will that work? Sometimes, yes, you'll get a better chance of it working than coming at the individual saying, wow, you really behaved like a jerk in that meeting. That's going to close that door immediately.
For most people, you got a 90% chance.
Yes. Hopefully you do.
For most people.
Absolutely.
And there's always the one. Every workplace has got them.
Yes, absolutely. But in our world, and this just doesn't just go for the workplace, think about places that you shop at. Think about places you do business with. You will get more flies with honey than you will with vinegar. And we seem to have forgotten that in this world. I mean, it does go beyond manners. Seek to understand and seek seek with respect in mind.
We weren't getting any phone calls, so oh god.
Well,
Not on my microphone.
Well, and I'd like to know if we do have any calls coming in. 520-373-0783 is QRAZ.
That back up there.
Yep, I'll repeat that again. 520-373-0783. Are there any questions? Or what questions do you have?
We're set up. We're happy to take a call, and they'll go right on the air with us. And
I'd love to hear from the audience.
There.
Oh, Maria, great. Thank you very much. Just having lived through it and living through it constantly, it's one of those things I have to deal with. And most people are non-conflict by nature. A lot of people are. I certainly don't like a lot of excessive stress and conflict.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to talk it out.
You know, I haven't worked for somebody else in over 30 years. When I was in my own business, I had to deal with me.
Right.
And everybody always said how wonderful that must be working for yourself. I had the best boss in the world. I also had the worst boss in the world. There was you didn't call in sick.
Right.
You did. And it was a small business. So not only was I the boss, I was part-time. Before I started hiring people, I was the janitor. I cleaned the restrooms. I emptied the trash cans. And then I hired people, but I still, if the bathroom was dirty, I didn't go tap somebody on the shoulder and say, go clean the bathroom. You know, if I went in there and the waste can in the bathroom was full, I emptied it.
Right.
I also was the main coffee maker.
Yep.
Because I made better coffee than they did.
Well, I have a philosophy that I'll share. You could tell how much employees and customers care about a business, at least when we were going into businesses face to face, by the condition of the restrooms. Are they clean? Are they pulled together? Are there supplies in there? How are the customers treating the facilities? How are employees treating the facilities? That in the parking lot, actually, you can tell a lot about a business and just the level of civility by those two things.
The last place that I had a shop was a small town, and we had a covered patio in back, which was absolutely wonderful. One Friday a month, I had a grill back there, table and some chairs. One Friday a month, lunch was in behind my place. I fired up the grill. People brought buns, they brought burgers, they brought hot dogs, brought chips. And one Friday, nobody reopened. we closed at noon.
You closed it down.
4 businesses closed at noon that day because somebody brought a 12-pack. It was summer. We closed early.
Yep, I remember those days way back when.
But that was such a great attitude for that small town and those other businesses, the local newspaper, the insurance guy, the massage parlor lady. We all went back on that little patio, and usually we took an hour and a half, and we cooked and we had an iced tea and burgers and hot dogs and chips. What a morale booster that was for all of us.
Absolutely.
And
there are many pieces that go into a good work environment and a good work culture. This is just one of them.
And that bred a huge network. It just, you had every business in town saying, oh, yeah, go over here. This guy will take care of you. Or go over there. That gal will do you right. We had real estate. We had beauticians, all of them eating hot dogs and hamburgers.
Well, what's really interesting? Before the pandemic, I was reading a survey, and the survey said that most employees, and this was slightly after the election, most employees felt safer at work than they did moving about their own communities, which I think is a really, it's really a stark reality for the lack of civility and the crisis that we're having with civility in the world today. It's huge. Do we have any callers? Anybody going to call in? Because I think we're at the end of our civility, our workplace incivility crisis.
Polly showed up.
Great. Hello, Polly. And I see Cindy.
Cindy back.
Yep. Cindy, you just nailed it on the head. It's getting worse and worse, and it's been growing worse and worse over the past 15 years.
Let's talk about business relations with customers.
Yes.
Because I've got an example here.
Okay.
You know what it is.
I probably do.
I was a huge proponent for Microlink.
Mm-hmm.
I had better speeds than a lot of people had.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden they fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
They got rid of my favorite customer support person.
Mm-hmm.
They had local support, local people.
Mm-hmm.
Then they quit answering questions.
Mm-hmm.
4 times I text them when we were having issues.
Mm-hmm.
Never got a response. Went to their webpage,
Mm-hmm.
posted the question on there, or not their webpage, their Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Totally ignored me. So I called Airbeam to see if they were still making the offer they offered us here in Quail Run.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they were. Signed up with them. Had an appointment. They had 2 people call in sick that morning. They sent the field supervisor by my house to tell me, they didn't call me. They didn't just send me a message. He showed up at my door to tell me what the problem was, that they were working on it, and they were dragging people in off of other types of jobs to do this. And while he was talking to me, 2 guys showed up. It wasn't their job. They ran the fiber to my house. Before they were finished, the installer showed up. He said, okay, I can go do this other one. It's not going to take very long. They'll be done by the time I get back. Those guys were loading their vans up to leave, and the installer showed up. His job took less than 15 minutes. And it has been working great. Our video quality, you're going to notice it looks better than normal than it did on Microlink. Even though Microlink said they had better speeds, they weren't stable. They would drop in and out. So now I'm a proponent for Airbeam. And today
that's certainly a testimonial. And everything that you, as a consumer, no matter what you're doing, where you go, what you purchase, you are buying something that is a product of the workplace environment.
What I've always said,
you are buying that experience.
Somebody told me years ago, and I've parroted it ever since. Every place is wonderful until you have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you find out whether the company's any good or not. When there's an issue is when you find out what you're dealing with. You can buy a new car, and if there's it could be brand new, 0 miles, and have a problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's how the dealer handles the problem. You've experienced that one.
Mm-hmm. I have. I certainly have.
That's when you find out what you're dealing with.
Absolutely. It is indicative of the environment that you are in. And if you think about, everything that you do, like I said, you're buying a piece of that, a piece of what's happening.
You are investing in the company when you buy a product or a service.
Yes. It's a vote.
The company doesn't like to admit that, but you're investing in that company.
No. You vote with your
warrant-
dollars.
how warranties are handled, and that's all indicative of the morality of the company. Companies
Absolutely.
tell you, I had a manager that I had to deal with who kept her old tattered Bible on her desk.
Mm-hmm.
And she was a pain in the
Mm-hmm.
neck.
Mm-hmm.
And I went in to talk to her one day, and she started reading me a riot act. And I said, what's that on your desk? She said, what do you mean? I said, you got a black book laying there. It looks
Mm-hmm.
pretty well worn. She said, I read it every day. I said, you don't follow it. What do you mean? I said, look at the way you're talking to me now.
Mm-hmm.
I said, that's not a Christian attitude. Well, this is business. That's different. No, it's not. You bring your Christian attitude into the business too. How you treat the people that work for you or with you. I didn't work for her. I worked,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, I couldn't even actually say I worked with her. We were at butting heads constantly. She had, her moral compass only worked outside the workplace.
Mm.
It,
Well,
she left it at the
regardless,
door.
mm-hmm. Regardless, treat others how you want to be treated, and take it even a level higher. You want to solidify that, and that's something that's really it's absolutely paramount. It's critical. So you model the right behavior, whether you're at work or out of work, and regardless of, we, again, one of those taboo topics in the workplace is religion. It doesn't mean though that you could still be a civilized person. And I think one of the greatest gauges for a business is, let's say that you have things are going well, you're giving a great service, and as long as you're consistent in giving great service and delivering to your customers, if there is a hiccup, statistically, people are more than likely to forgive if you handle the situation well and you own it.
Communicate with your customers.
Absolutely. And just communicate, period, and communicate in a way that is productive and constructive. When you ignore people or when you disregard them, it's a signal of disrespect, and it gets into incivility. And Polly, you raise a great point. Polly saying you bring it anywhere you go. Not everybody has the same belief system. Not everybody believes in higher entities. Some do, some don't. But there's still a way to behave though, and have the most productivity in the workplace, regardless if you believe or not. And you've got to think about how do you want to be treated, how do you treat others, and behave in a way that's going to be most productive.
We're gonna start winding up here, I think.
Yeah, it's that
But
time.
I want to tell you, I've been playing with all this software.
Mm-hmm.
My eyes have been crossed, my brain's been burnt out, and what little hair I got left's falling out from looking at everything. I love this. Look at the stuff we're doing here.
Yeah, this is great. It's a lot of orchestration.
Mouse clicks. It's just mouse clicks. That's all it is. And I can take this stuff on, take it off.
Pretty neat.
I'm still on the free trial.
Okay.
I'm gonna pay for this one.
Good.
And I told you earlier, these people are unbelievable. They've got ambassadors.
Nice.
Facebook is literally littered with tips on how to do this and Q&As. And I told you that the two developers, the guys that founded the company, do twice a month, they do town halls and they listen. And you can see them when somebody said, what if we could do this? And you see the guy going, I'm going to write that down. And we're going to look into it and see what it would do. And to me, they're kids. You know,
sounds like they've got some good chemistry together, though, to create and for business to be successful. It's how you execute.
And they're
everything's in execution.
They work from separate places. They have an office staff. And the one of them, I swear to God, he's not shaven yet. But
no matter. There's some brilliant people out there. Really brilliant.
That their big goal is they want to do the same thing the big guys do, you know, like OBS and VMAX and ECAM and some of those. Mm-hmm. Only they want it for people like you and me that can just get it and start using it. They've got a free version that absolutely does wonderful things.
Cool.
And the pay version, some of the stuff you've seen what I've done tonight, some of that stuff is only on the pay version. The timer, some of the banner and branding and stuff is only on a pay version. On the free version, in that top right-hand corner, you'd be seeing their logo. I need a logo. Because if I've got my own logo, I can put it up there in that top right-hand corner.
There you go.
So we're going to have a contest.
I like it.
Well, I'm going to get somebody to design me a logo. I'm broke. I'm old. I'm poor. But I'll spring for a gift certificate to Tumble Beans.
Hey, there you go. And, Bria, thank you. And Cindy's got a question.
Cindy's got a question.
What will be our next subject?
I don't know.
Let's ask our audience. What are some things you'd like to hear?
Every week, I post a question on the page. What do you want to talk about? Mm-hmm. What do you want to hear? Is 6 o'clock a better time or 7 o'clock a better time? Mm-hmm. Crickets. I get crickets. So,
well, maybe the crickets have some questions.
Maybe I can get an audio file and just play crickets on here.
Or we just go to my backyard, one or the other.
Yeah. But,
well, my forte is going to be in the business arena, more in the behavioral sciences area. And I don't know how much interest that is to this audience, but I'd love to hear, because there are related topics. If you like this one, there are others that we can certainly talk about.
My background is computers and communications. So,
okay.
I tried to stay away from that stuff. But I've told you before, I drive internet support people crazy because I probably know more about it than the people on the phone know.
Sure.
So, and they'll try and blow smoke, and it's like, that's not how that works. I have been known to give lessons.
Well, and that's really an important point. So you just raise something, and just to wrap up this topic, feedback is a gift. And somebody told me years ago, you could take that gift, keep it wrapped up, put it on the shelf in the closet, and never, ever look at it.
Yeah.
Or you can take that gift and you can unwrap it and decide whether or not you want to use it.
Or modify it.
Or modify it. Or you can embrace that gift, take it with genuine intent, and allow it to change your world.
Sometimes you get some of the best suggestions from a customer or a client. You may not be able to implement it immediately. Sometimes it's not cost effective immediately.
Absolutely.
But it's something you can put on your roadmap.
Absolutely. And just acknowledge it. I mean, one of the greatest things is if somebody gives you feedback or information, at least acknowledge its very existence. It doesn't mean you have to do it.
Cindy, you can come back and watch it from the beginning
Absolutely.
after we're done. And if you're on Facebook, Facebook has to process.
No. But this will be available recorded.
Yeah, about 10 minutes after we're done, it'll be available. You can come back and watch it from the beginning. And traditionally, that's when I get the most views. Like right now, we've got 7 people. That's, when I first started this, I'd have 2 or 3, and then maybe come back and check it the next day, and I'd have 50 or 60. And the night you and I did, what was it, hour and a half on here, we had
forget.
200 and some. And the ones I did where I went to I have a hard time here because where I come from, we have county commissioners. Here you got county supervisors. When I did those, we went into the thousands on views. But I promoted them, and he had information people wanted. So I think my highest one, and I can't remember which one it was, but I think you were in it. We had over 2,000 views.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, with that,
and I do go back and watch these later, and I go, boy, that was a dumb thing you did.
But you know what? When you go through that, I mean, you live and learn, and as long as you're willing to be, open, and it doesn't matter how young, how old, where you're at. If you're closed, then you're closed to an opportunity. You've made a conscious choice to be closed. But you can also make a conscious choice to be open and be open to feedback. Yes.
I don't want to forget this. I think I'm a day late now. Happy birthday.
Oh, why, thank you very much. Thank you.
You look great for 30.
Why, thank you. Yeah, I try. And yeah, I can remember being 30. That was fun.
I vaguely remember.
A lot of fun. I do remember. But no, it was a very quiet day, but it was a nice day. So thank you. I appreciate that. With that being said, I just want to encourage our listeners and our viewers, to think about when you walk out into the world, how you're treating other people, and, is there an opportunity for civility? And I guess my final, piece would be, just because somebody else behaves in a way that is not civilized doesn't give you a license to do it too. So make a conscious choice in the moment, and be aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and think about the lasting effects.
So with that, we're going to say that we're QRAZ. We're not much on the radio. The radio's still here. It's still playing the oldies. 1954 to 1984, no commercials. So if you like that, tune in, listen.
Great.
But we've kind of moved the focus over to these video blogs, which is a vlog, I guess. So bear with us, folks. If you think it's worth it, tell other people about it. Get them to watch us. Like and follow. If you follow the page, that's fine, but I need you to like it too. We've got twice as many followers as we have likes. So, and it helps me. And if you do it on YouTube, do the same thing. Like and follow. Hit that bell, because that moves us up in the algorithm on YouTube. We're never going to be big enough to get money. That's not happening. But it sure helps the channel if you like and hit the notification bell, like and follow it on Facebook. And every week I'm going to put that phone number up, and someday somebody's going to call us.
Yep. I look forward to hearing it and seeing it.
Yep. It's happened in the past. So
we'll make it happen again.
Okay.
All right.
Everybody.
Thank you, Dale.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Love your insights. thank everybody for coming by,
Thank you.
especially Carol, since she showed up kind of on time.
Yes. Rhea's here. Thank you. Cindy.
Rhea
Polly.
was the first one here.
Yep. George
Polly
was
and
here.
Cindy. George Bowman showed up. That's amazing. And he's 14 hours ahead of us.
Okay.
So he's in tomorrow already.
He's into tomorrow already. Well, that's amazing. Glad to have him here. Thank you so much again, Dale. Greatly appreciate the opportunity.
I'm going to start winding this down and sign us off. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
We'll do this again.
All right. Sounds good.
And we're going to
Everybody
have George. And we're going to get George on here.
Okay.
And he's going to tell us what it's like making American pizzas in Thailand.
Would love to hear about that. That would be really interesting.
He's actually got a weekend restaurant that does American barbecue and American pizza. And he's busy on weekends. He has a YouTube channel with a few videos on it. If you get a chance, look him up. George Bowman.
Okay.
He's a Missouri kid. And he's no more kid than I am. Well, maybe a little more kid than I am. In Thailand.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thank you all so much. We're going to get out of here in 3, 2, boom.